Hi again then guys, and welcome to another specific car review for Gran Turismo Sport, and this time we're taking a look at a car which, to be honest, wasn't on my radar when I started playing GT Sport. It was a vehicle which I don't even recall hearing any talk about really before playing the demo. Then in the demo I did what I always do, which is go to the car dealerships first to check out the vehicles that are on the game. I looked under the Peugeot dealer, expecting there to be maybe the existing Vision GT in a couple of different forms, and maybe with one or two hatchbacks and of course the RCZ. Now that was true, but what I wasn't expecting was for there to be a new Vision GT car. Now I'm sure that was announced before, but I just don't remember seeing that in advance. So when I first saw this vehicle in particular, it was a total surprise to me. Now the great thing, and this really is a great thing about this car, is it could easily be a Group X vehicle. And Group X, as far as GT Sport goes, is kind of a weird class, because it almost feels like a dumping ground to some degree. It should be used for the ultimate vehicles, but what it actually turns out to be is just an eclectic mix of cars which Polyphony don't see as fitting anywhere else. There really is no other reason to have a Fittipaldi, a Tomahawk and a BMW i3 all in the same class. That's ridiculous. So it's an experimental class for sure, but at the same time they're totally missing the opportunity of having that class to be representative of what we all expected it to be, which is top tier race cars. Something so extreme that it wouldn't be really allowed into any other class. Kind of like what the Zonda R is like in real life, but far more extreme than that. In the case of, for instance, something like a Tomahawk or a Red Bull, those would be perfect cars. Or of course the Chaparral, the 2X, that would also justify being in that class. This one, I would have also expected to be in that category, because if I remember correctly, I think the L750R, which is the much more normal version, if you want to look at it that way, with about 270 horsepower that weighs 1 tonne, is a Group X car. But then the weird thing is that this one, the L750R, a much more extreme vehicle in every way, is a Group 1 car. Now that's awesome. It really is, because it means that you can actually use this vehicle against some very interesting opposition, both fictional and real, but at the same time that makes no sense. Why would this car be in the Group 1, going up against stuff like the Peugeot 908, for instance, if that were on the game, or the Porsche 919, but then the less powered version would be going up against the Tomahawk? That doesn't really make much sense. But there you go, that's the way the system currently is. Now with that being said, this car delivered certain expectations to me, and that's totally on me. Most of those expectations were, to be honest, wrong. I immediately thought Tajima E-Runner when I first saw this car. This car looks so much like that vehicle to me. That was what I was basically expecting. Something that, to me, looks very much like an ultimate electric car. Now it's not an electric car, far from it. But in some ways, it is kind of similar to the Tajima. It is all-wheel drive, and it does offer this interesting mix of prototype meets Pikes Peak car in terms of the way it performs. And also in terms of the numbers that it has, because this car is not only far more powerful than the L500, but it's also a whole lot lighter. 825 kilos is remarkably low for a vehicle like this, especially the size of this car. It's a huge vehicle, especially in terms of length, but with almost 700 horsepower, you're pretty much guaranteed to be rather quick, let's say. With 840 horsepower per tonne, you are rivaling plenty of other top-level vehicles. But it's not just power and weight that are great. The torque is even really high as well, at just under 650 pound-feet, and of course, being a Vision GT, it has a great price tag of 1 million credits, which could potentially be great value, or not so good. So which side does this car fall under? Well, I'm not going to lead you on. It's not a bad car, certainly not. That's not too surprising. It's extremely fast, extremely powerful, and looks like pretty much nothing else in this game. However, I will utter a very significant warning about this car. This car does not perform in the way you expect it to. I expected this car to be insane around corners in terms of grip levels, and I expected it to be fairly heavy. Again, with my expectations of the Tajima E-Runner being inaccurately expressed onto this car. It shouldn't be like that, but I expected it to be. It's really not like that at all. In fact, this might be the twitchiest and the slipperiest all-wheel drive car I have ever driven on Gran Turismo. And that's saying a lot, because we've had some crazy all-wheel drive cars, up to and including really stuff like the Escudo. This car makes vehicles like the Lancia Stratos, or the Shelby Cobra, or the Proto Motors Spira look like kids' cars, like beginner-friendly track day toys. This is a challenging car to push to its limit, because the all-wheel drive does nothing for you. It doesn't save you at all. In fact, I don't even know why this car is all-wheel drive. It may as well be a rear-wheel drive vehicle, because coming out of corners, as you can see multiple times in this video, it wheel spins and slides its tail around all over the place, as you'd expect a rear-wheel drive car to do with that kind of power and weight. So it's a very strange choice to me to make the vehicle with those kind of proportions, specs and physics, because it's a world away from what the other Vision GT is like. That car is superb, excellently balanced, it's low and wide, which makes it fantastic through corners, and again, that Peugeot was a car that could easily beat pretty much any LMP car because it was light, powerful, and took full advantage of its all-wheel drive. This one really doesn't. It's got incredible straight-line performance, but the cornering is weird on this thing. To put it into some kind of perspective, I would say that this handles in a way that is kind of a cross between, funnily enough, the Tajima E-Runner in some ways, but imagine if you cross that with the Panos, the Esperante GTR1, that very nose-heavy design, but with more of the slippery, tail-happy nature of the Panos, but with the all-wheel drive of the Tajima. It's kind of a weird car. In fact, it's a very weird car in that way, I would say. Certainly, it handles like nothing else I've driven so far, but the proof is there. Even without pushing this car to its limits, I was able to get it to be about 3.5 seconds off the pace of my Porsche 919. That is not bad, given that this car has less power than the Porsche, once you factor in the hybrid system of that car, and the fact that it weighs a similar amount. In fact, it's a little heavier than the Porsche in its fully upgraded form. So that bodes pretty well for this vehicle. Just don't expect this car to be easy to drive. If you think that the LaFerrari was slippery, then you've got something else coming, because this car is way beyond the LaFerrari. It's a challenging car for sure, but one with incredible ability. So it's certainly an intriguing car to check out and looks like nothing else in the game. But overall, that's it for this particular pick. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.